15. Rebirth. We have seen how a soul's decision to come forward into the next life at a specific time and place on Earth involves an ordered progression of spiritual planning. As I bring the soul consciousness of my subjects nearer to the moment of their exit from the spirit world, most become quietly introspective, while others engage in light bantering with their friends. These reactions toward what lies ahead depend more on the individual's soul than on the length of time since a last incarnation. Rebirth is a profound experience. Those souls getting ready for embarkation to Earth are like battle-hardened veterans, girding themselves for combat. This is the last chance for souls to enjoy the omniscience of knowing just who they are before they must adapt to a new body. My last case involves the soul of a woman who offers us a well-defined description of her most recent passage to Earth. Case 29. Dr. N. Has the time arrived for you to be reborn into your next life? Subject. Yes, it has. Dr. N. What is uppermost in your mind about returning to Earth? Subject. The opportunity to live in the 20th century. It's an exciting time of many changes. Dr. N. And have you seen this life, or at least parts of it, in advance? Subject. Yes, I've been through that. Subject seems distracted. Dr. N. Is there something else you want to talk to me about concerning your next incarnation? Subject. I am having a last talk with Pomar, Subject's guide, on all the alternatives to my project, life. Dr. N. Might this be considered a final exit interview with Pomar? Subject. Yes, I suppose it would. Dr. N. Would it help you to talk to me about the contingency plans you have for the next life? Subject. Voice is dry and rather thin. I think I have them straight. Dr. N. How did your recognition class go? I assume that phase of your preparation is complete? Subject, still distracted. Uh-huh. I've met with the rest of the participants for my project. Dr. N. Are the recognition signs clear in your mind for meeting the right souls at the right time? Subject, nervous laugh. Ah, the signals. My compacts with people. Yes, that's all done. Dr. N. Without analyzing or censoring your impressions in any way, tell me what you are feeling at this moment. Subject. I'm just gathering myself for the big jump into a new life. There is apprehension, but I am excited too. Dr. N. Are you a little scared and perhaps wondering if you should go to Earth at all? Subject. Pause and then more cheerfully. A little concern for what lies ahead of me, leaving my home here, but happy too at the opportunity. Dr. N. So you have mixed emotions about leaving the spirit world? Subject. Most of us do as our time draws near. I have second thoughts before some lives. But Pomar knows when I'm lagging behind my schedule. You can't hide anything here, you know. Dr. N. Okay, let's assume it's a go situation for your next life. On the count of 3, your decision to return at an appointed time is firm, and you are in the final stage to leave the spirit world. 1, 2, 3. Describe to me what happens to you now. Subject. I say goodbye to everyone. This can be difficult. Tosses her head back with resolution. Anyway, they all wish me well and I move away from them, drifting alone. There's no great rush. Pomar allows me to collect my thoughts. When I am quite ready, he comes to escort me, to offer encouragement, reassurance. And he knows when I am prepared to go. Dr. N. I sense that you are now more upbeat about the prospect of rebirth. Subject. Yes. It's a period of inspiration and expectations. A new body, the course ahead. I now prepare this subject to leave the spirit world for the last time before her current life. I am as careful here as when I brought her into the spirit world for the first time, following normal age regression. Starting with a reinforcement of the protective energy shield already placed around this subject, I apply additional conditioning techniques to keep her soul in proper balance with the mind of the child she is joining on Earth. Dr. N. All right. You and Pomar are together for your exit from the spirit world. I want you to go deep inside yourself and explain to me what you do next, as if it were happening in slow motion. Go. Subject. Pause. We begin to move at a greater speed. Then I am aware of Pomar detaching from me, and I am alone. Dr. N. What do you see and feel? Subject. Dr. N. Stay with it. You are alone and moving faster. Then what? Subject. In a faint voice. Away. Slanting away. Through pillars of whiteness. Moving away. Dr. N. Stay with it. Keep going and report back to me. Subject. I'm passing through folds of silky cloth. Smooth. I'm on a band. A pathway. Faster and faster. Dr. N. Keep going. Don't stop talking to me. Subject. Everything is blurred. I'm sliding down into a long dark tube. A hollow feeling. Darkness. Then warmth. Dr. N. Where are you now? Subject. Pause. I'm aware of being inside my mother. Dr. N. Who are you? Subject. Chuckles. I'm in a baby. I'm a baby. The hollow tube effect described by my cases is apparently not the mother's birth canal. It is similar to the tunnel souls pass through at physical death, and may be the same route. The listener might wonder why I would take more care with the act of birthing, when I have already brought my subjects in and out of a number of past lives during a session. There are two reasons. First, reliving a past life does not need to involve the birthing process. I help my clients go straight from the spirit world into the next life, usually as adults. Second, if I return subjects to their current body and decide to command them to relive the birthing experience, I want to remove any minor discomforts felt by some people after they wake up. Before continuing with this case, I should offer a little more general information about souls and babies. All my subjects tell me the transition of their souls from the spirit world to the mind of a baby is relatively more rapid than the passage back. What is the reason for this difference? After physical death, our souls travel through the time tunnel and move past a gateway into the spirit world in a progressive way. We have seen how the outward passage is intended to be more gradual than our return to Earth in order to allow for acclimatization of a newly freed soul. However, as souls who enter babies, we come from a state of all-knowing and thus are mentally able to adjust more quickly to our surroundings than at the end of a physical life. Then, too, we are given additional time for adaptation while in our mother's womb. Nevertheless, having this time inside our mother does not mean we are fully prepared for the jarring paroxysm of birth, with blinding hospital lights, having to suddenly breathe air, and being physically handled for the first time. My subjects say if they were to compare the moment of birth with that of death, the physical shock of being born is much greater. At some point prior to birth, the soul will carefully touch and join more fully with the impressionable developing brain of a baby. When a soul decides to enter a baby, apparently that child has no free choice in accepting or rejecting the soul. At the moment of first entry, chronological time begins for the soul. Depending upon the inclinations of the particular soul involved, the connection may be early or late in the mother's pregnancy. I have had cases where souls timed their arrival at the last minute during delivery, but this is unusual. My findings indicate even those souls who join the baby early seem to do a lot of traveling outside the mother's womb during her term. Once birth has taken place, the union of spirit and flesh has been fully solidified into a partnership. The immortal soul then becomes the seat of perception for the developing human ego. The soul brings a spiritual force, which is the heritage of infinite consciousness. Although I have said souls can be confined by a human in trauma, they are never trapped. Besides leaving at the moment of death, souls may also come and go when the body is sleeping, in deep meditation, or under an anesthetic in surgery. The soul's absences are much longer in cases of severe brain damage and coma. Case 29 continues by explaining the creative beauty of a soul joining with a new human being. This coupling of an intelligent life force before birth brings us full circle from the death scene described in Case 1. Dr. N. Well, I'm glad you arrived safe and sound in your new body. Tell me, how old is the baby? Subject. 5 months have passed since conception. Dr. N. Is this your usual arrival time as far as the maturation of a child? Subject. In my lives, I have arrived at different times, depending on the baby, the mother, and my life to be. Dr. N. As a soul, are you in distress if the baby is aborted from the mother's womb for any reason before full term? Subject. We know if a baby is going to full term or not. Not being born comes as no surprise to us. We may be around to just comfort the child. Dr. N. Well, if the child does not go to term, is your life assignment as a soul aborted as well? Subject. No, there never was a full life assignment as far as that child was concerned. Dr. N. Might some babies who are aborted never have souls? Subject. That depends on how far along they are. The ones who die very early often don't need us. Note: this issue was as hotly debated in the past as it is today. During the 13th century, the Christian Church found it necessary to establish guidelines for the existence of souls with regard to an aborted fetus. St. Thomas Aquinas and other medieval theologians arbitrarily decided ensoulment took place 40 days after conception. Dr. N. Assuming a baby is going to full term, do you know about the convergence habits of other souls with these children? Subject, offhandedly. Oh, some float around more than others, going in and out of the baby until birth because they get bored. Dr. N. What do you usually do? Subject. I'm average, I guess. Actually, I don't spend a long time at any one stretch with babies because it can get pretty dull. Dr. N. All right. Let's take this current situation inside your mother and allow some time to pass. What do you do when you are not with the unborn baby? Subject laughs with delight. You want the truth? I'll tell you. Me? I play. It's a fine time to leave and purely goof off when the baby is less active. I have fun with my friends who are doing the same thing. We bounce around Earth to visit with each other and go to interesting places where we have once lived together in former lives. Dr. N. Don't you and these other souls feel leaving the unborn baby for long periods is shirking the responsibilities of your assignment on Earth? Subject, defensively. Oh, lighten up. Who said anything about long periods? I don't do that. Anyway, our tough exercises haven't begun yet. Dr. N. When you leave the baby for a while, what astral plane are you on in relation to Earth? Subject. We're still on the Earth plane, and we try not to get too distracted either. A lot of our fooling around is in the neighborhood of the baby. I don't want you to get the idea there's nothing for us to do with unborn babies. Dr. N. Oh? Subject continues. I'm busy with this new mind, even though it's not fully ready. Dr. N. Why don't we talk more about that? When your soul enters a baby to remain with this new body for a lifetime, give me the scope of this undertaking. Subject takes a deep sigh. Once I attach to a child, it is necessary to bring my mind into synchronization with the brain. We have to get used to each other as partners. Dr. N. This is what other people tell me. But do you and the baby have an affinity for each other right away? Subject. Well, I am in the mind of the child, but separate too. I go slowly at first. Dr. N. Okay. Why don't you explain what you do with the mind of the baby? Subject. It's delicate and can't be hurried. I start with a gentle probe, defining connections, gaps. Every mind is different. Dr. N. Is there any conflict within the child against you? Subject, softly. There is a slight resistance in the beginning, not full acceptance while I trace the passages. That's usual. Until there is familiarization, stops for a moment and laughs quietly. I keep bumping into myself. Dr. N. As you integrate with the baby, when does it become receptive to the force of your identity as a soul? Subject. I'm disturbed by your word force. We never force ourselves when entering an unborn baby. My tracing is done carefully. Dr. N. Did it take you many lives to learn to trace a human brain? Subject. A while. New souls are assisted with their tracing. Dr. N. Since you represent pure energy, are you tracing electrical brain connections, such as neurotransmitters, nerve cells, and the like? Subject. Pause. Well, something like that. I disrupt nothing, though, while I learn the brainwave patterns of the baby. Dr. N. Are you referring to the thought regulation circuitry of the mind? Subject. How this person translates signals. Its capacity. No two children are the same. Dr. N. Be completely frank with me. Isn't your soul taking over this mind and subjugating it to your will? Subject. You don't understand. It's a melding. There is an emptiness before my arrival, which I fill to make the baby whole. Dr. N. Do you bring intellect? Subject. We expand what is there. Dr. N. Could you be more specific about what your soul actually provides the human body? Subject. We bring a comprehension of things, a recognition of the truth of what the brain sees. Dr. N. Are you sure this child doesn't think of you at first as an alien entity in her mind? Subject. No. That's why we unify with undeveloped minds. She recognizes me as a friend, a twin who is going to be part of her. It's as if the baby was waiting for me to come. Dr. N. Do you think a higher power prepares the baby for you? Subject. I don't know. It would seem so. Dr. N. Is your work at unification completed before birth? Subject. Not really. But at birth, we have started to complement each other. Dr. N. So the unification process does take some time? Subject. Sure, while we adjust to each other. And like I told you, I leave the unborn baby at intervals. Dr. N. But what about those souls who join babies at the last minute before birth? Subject. That's their style, not mine. They have to start their work in the crib. Dr. N. How far along in age is the body by the time your soul stops leaving the child altogether? Subject: at about 5 or 6 years of age. Usually we get fully operational when the child starts school. Children under this age can be left to their own devices a lot. Dr. N: don't you have a duty to always be with your body? Subject: if things get bad in a physical way, then I'm back inside like a shot. Dr. N: how would you know this if you were off fooling around with other souls? Subject: every brain has a wave pattern. It's like a fingerprint. We know immediately if the baby assigned to us is in trouble. Dr. N: so you are watching the baby assigned to you all the time, both inside and out, during the early stages of growth? Subject: with pride: oh, yes. And I watch the parents. They might be having squabbles around the baby, which sets up disturbing vibrations. Dr. N: if this happens to the child, what do you do as its soul? Subject: quiet the child as best I can. Reach out to the parents through the baby to calm them. Dr. N: give me an example of how you can reach out to your parents. Subject: oh, make the baby laugh in front of them by poking my parents' faces with both hands. This sort of thing further endears babies to parents. Dr. N: as a soul, you can control motor movements of the baby? Subject: I'm me. I can push a little on that part of the brain which controls movements. I can tickle the kid's funny bone sometimes, too. I'll do whatever it takes to bring harmony to my assigned family. Dr. N: tell me what it is like being inside a mother's womb. Subject: I like the warm, comfortable feeling of love. Most of the time there is love. Sometimes there is stress. Anyway, I use this time to think and plan what I'm going to do after birth. I think about my past lives and missed opportunities with other bodies, and this gives me incentive. Dr. N: and you haven't yet had the memories of all your past lives and your life in the spirit world blocked out by amnesia? Subject: that starts after birth. Dr. N: when the baby is born, does it have any conscious thoughts of who its soul is and the reasons for the attachment? Subject: pause. The child mind is so undeveloped, it does not reason out this information. It does have parts of this knowledge as a means of comfort, which then fades. By the time I speak, this information is locked deep inside me, and that's the way it's supposed to be. Dr. N: so, will you have fleeting thoughts of other lives as a child? Subject: yes, we daydream. The way we play as children, creating stories, having imaginary friends who are real. But it fades. In the first few years of life, babies know more than they are given credit for. Dr. N: all right. Now it is the time right before your birth in this life. Tell me what you are doing. Subject: I'm listening to music. Dr. N: what music? Subject: I'm listening to my father play records. Very relaxing for him. It helps him to think. I'm a bit anxious for him. Dr. N: why? Subject giggles. He thinks he wants a boy, but I'll change his mind in a hurry. Dr. N: so this is a productive time for you? Subject with determination: yes. I'm busy planning for the approaching time when I will enter the world as a human and take that first breath. This is my last chance for quiet contemplation of the next life. When I come out, I'll be running.